down to a broken man's dream. A hard lesson, court cases keep them guessing. Plea bargain ain't an option now, so I'm stressing. Cost me more to be free than a life in the pen. Making money over cuss words, writing again. Learn how to think ahead, so I fight with my pen.
Well, hello. God bless your community family, and welcome to Gang Talk with Skipp Townsend and Sister Herron. We're here again. It's Thursday, 6 o'clock. We're right here in our own neighborhood, our own communities, the hub of where we center a lot of African-American activities in Los Angeles, and that's in the Crenshaw-Lamert Park corridor. So God bless you once again. Welcome to this show, and we hope it brings something different to our arena. So let me just go ahead and thank our co-host Skipp for who he is and what he does, and thank him for being faithful to this effort on radio and now online. So,
yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Skipp.
Well, I always give honor and praise to God. It's not me. I can't do nothing without God. So I'm truly grateful. I wake up every morning, my right mind, my right spirit. I'm truly blessed to not be dead or in jail, sister.
Yes.
I'm truly glad.
Yes.
Ain't that something?
Yes, that's amazing
not
grace.
Not dead, not in jail.
That's
Ain't
amazing grace right there.
Yes, it is.
Brought you back in your right mind.
Right mind.
Fully intact.
I'm right here.
No mortal wounds.
No mortal wounds. I didn't get dead.
Hey.
They tried to get me dead, though, but I just didn't get dead.
God had another plan,
He
obviously.
did.
He had another plan. And the truth of this testimony and story is that in this arena, people don't believe outsiders.
Right.
They don't believe them. They don't respect them. They don't want to hear nothing an outsider has to say to them. So it's very personable, and you have to be able to relate to the challenges that our kids are facing. So no jokes, no tricks, no cover-up.
Yes, ma'am.
So that's the one thing we appreciate about you, Skipp, in your work. You bring that truth everywhere you go.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah.
Truly grateful.
From anger management with ladies in lockup?
Oh, yes. Anger management, domestic violence, parenting with the ladies in lockup on Tuesdays and Wednesdays.
Yeah.
Classes on Mondays. Classes actually on Thursday when I leave here, too.
That's right. Mentoring.
Yes, indeed.
And where do you mentor on Thursdays?
That's 3500 South Normandy on the corner of 35th and Normandy, the Abundant Life Church.
Yep.
So grateful for Pastor John Tunstall. He has not asked me for not $1 in 8 years.
That church has been very supportive in your work.
Yes.
And you said how many years you been there?
Been there 8 years.
8.
Been at the other church 10 years. Been at the one on Hobart, Church of Christian Fellowship, Pastor James McKnight. He has not asked me for $1. And sometimes I meet pastors, and within the first 30 minutes, they want, hey, can you give us something, a donation?
I know. I know.
But these pastors have opened the doors, and they allowing people to come in to be able to get something that God has in store for them.
Truthfully, they're doing it the way God wishes that our churches would open their eyes and get involved too.
Yes, indeed.
You know, too many of our shepherds forgot the way Jesus did his work.
Right.
Okay.
Hitting the streets.
Hitting the streets.
Yep.
Looking for the lost.
Yes.
Okay, so we just want to mention to our spiritual stewards that the street misses you.
Right. Right.
Yeah. And for you to expect that the lost to find your sanctuary is hypocrisy.
Right. Okay.
Because I'm sorry to say,
Hello.
I have had some churches turn away those in need. While our guest figures out what you got to do here real quick.
That's a call from prison. Her brother's actually, in prison, incarcerated. So, so he doesn't get so much time on the phone, and I guess he didn't know. So,
I understand.
Yes, indeed. But as we talk about that, her brother being in prison, our last guest 2 weeks ago had served 32 years in prison.
Yes.
Is that correct?
Yes.
32 years in
32,
prison
yes.
For a murder that he did not commit.
Right.
And that would be, his name is Victor Smith, but growing up we called him Leo. And he was Pretty Boy from Rolling 60s.
Yes.
And oh my God, I'm telling you, he was that dude.
Okay.
You know, I don't glorify gangbanging, and he wasn't from the area that I was looking at, but I was watching him because he was a skinny dude. And I was thinking people on this side of Western, on the east side, had a fear when he crossed the street. They were scared. And I said, I want to grow up to make people be scared of me just like that.
That's when you was crazy and out of your mind,
Yes,
and that
was
red
crazy
was
and out of
making
my
you
mind.
nuts. Okay.
Right.
Well, we had a discussion about red just before we started the show, and the truth about red, it's the hottest color in the spectrum. Okay, so it's keeping fire going. It keeps the heat. That's the color of heat.
Right.
And so I was not laughing, but keep your eyes on red car drivers, okay? Because they tend to be a little reckless.
Right.
And
or maybe a little. What's the attorney Jaye that comes here? Remember, I said that he was reckless. I said he was arrogant, and he says, "No, I'm confident."
No.
He said, "I'm confident."
Jaye is confident. The Lincoln lawyer driving his white Lincoln is confident. Red car drivers, just in general, tend to be a little fiery.
It ain't confidence.
No.
When I got my red car, I was confident.
Okay, well then let's put it this way. That fourth car that ran through that red light tonight was in a red car.
Okay.
He's a fourth car ran through the red light.
All right.
There was 3 cars in front of him. 2 was legal.
Right.
Number 3 was illegal.
And number 4 was overconfident.
That red car, yes, overconfident, came through that intersection, and I'm glad I just sat and waited. Just sat and waited because the people in the oncoming traffic was honking at him. Yeah. They wanted to send him a message, but he didn't care. So his overconfidence, he didn't care. Okay,
right.
So
well, thank you, sister, for waiting and being here because I wouldn't know what to do if something had happened to you.
Oh,
if you would have been hit by that car. So thank you for being patient.
Well, God has blessed me in so many ways, and this show and partnering with you has been part of that, and it's been a very difficult journey for both of us for the reasons that we're here, and it's only by His grace that I'm still here.
Right.
By His grace. And I might as well be honest and tell our community family, I had considered retiring this year.
Right.
I really wanted to find something else to do than to come out and acknowledge our dead kids.
Right.
I've done that on so many corners of our community. Our family you just don't know how many it's been, and it's been very painful, hurtful, it makes you angry. Right. A lot of emotions that you have to work through, and the greatest is the sorrow. The greatest is the sorrow that I've seen repeat itself at every one of those occasions. All this sorrow, but not enough from our apathetic community, that part of the church that neglects this completely, has been kind of disappointing.
Right.
But thanks to dedicated violence prevention workers like you, those that are committed to both a Southern California Ceasefire Committee and the Watch Gang Task Force, and men like you that have worked the grid, have put their feet on the ground to make a difference right where they are. And had it not been for their commitment, their concern about this, we'd still be back with our 92 homicide rates.
Right. Yeah, I'm truly grateful that God has seen me in the direction that I'm in. And you say men, but I want to say women, too. There's a lot of women who join us, a lot of women that work for the grid, a lot of women who are non-grid, who lend their voice and, do the things that they do as well. So I just want to acknowledge everybody who does it. And it's definitely a team effort, and we all can't do the same thing, but we all can do something.
Like Donna Graham,
we can do.
Girls and Gangs.
Right.
Time
for real change.
Time for real change.
Time for real change.
And it's about girls and gangs.
Right.
And so we need, folks don't even acknowledge that. They don't. Right. We don't acknowledge sex trafficking.
Oh, yeah.
That's a part of it, too. And so we have Sharon that has Phenomenal Angels.
Sharon will go online and post phenomenal. The answer is supposed to be angels.
Right.
And it just kills me. It tickles me to death. And I love what she's doing with the young women. And I know she's started it and did it with absolutely no money. So even though she's doing fundraising now and stuff, I know that she deserves it because she put the work in. So I like to see when people do it from their heart, their passion, and there's no money involved, and I'll always mess with that person. That person who always does it with their heart, I love them.
That's the commitment.
Right.
See, those that misinterpret this and think, there's a lot of nonprofit dollars out there. There may be, but you try to get it. Right. And find out how hard that really is, and that there may be intervention dollars out here, but they're not going to necessarily end up in your hand.
Exactly.
So you have to start with the commitment, the concern first, followed by the commitment, and the motive can't be funding.
Right.
Really can't. It's a disgrace, really, to the intervention arena, how difficult it is for us to not only get recognized, but to get some funding for some outstanding programs.
What's so important is our guest tonight has actually put her feet on the ground and has been working with absolutely no money. Let me tell you, I hate to tell her story when she right here, and I hope she don't fire on me, but she had this truck at one time, and the truck had probably like 1995 tags, right? But we were in 2012 or 13, and the truck had tags from at least 10 years ago, right? But her commitment for the community, she would drive that truck to go get food, to pass out food to people who were homeless and hungry.
Yes.
And they would line up, and some of them would have bad attitudes. Like, this what you got? Well, where's the witch, and all that. And trust and believe, this is a fighter. Yeah. And to watch her humble herself, I sit there and watch. I look in the back. I wouldn't intervene, right? I sit there and watch, and just to see how her color would change. And I'm thinking, okay, she about to blow. And she would say, no, look, this is what you get. And I could see she holding back and not about to go off on somebody. So I don't care where she at or when she calls. I'm coming because I know that her commitment was, it's God is in her as well, but just her commitment to the community. She was taking a lot of chances to do the stuff that she did for so many people, and she's still doing it, and she works with young ladies too. Yeah. And also, when I first seen her, she had a shirt on. And I'm sorry to say that we were at her nephew's candlelight vigil, and she had a shirt on. I think you were there, sister. The shirt said, God will forgive you. The back of the shirt said, the nuns won't.
Okay, because I look, when you were talking about the ingratitude.
Right.
From the work that she was doing with the generosity of spirit, that's something that will knock you off your track. It will. It's like, dang, what else can I do to make you happy? You want me to cook it and serve it to you? You want me to feed you? You want me to put a table out with it?
But life is good. Everybody's paying attention and seeing the work. So without further ado, I would love to introduce you, but can you introduce yourself? Come up to the mic, speak in the mic so everybody can hear you.
Yes, that's the most important part.
Right.
My name is Cynthia Nunn.
Okay.
See?
Yeah, I knew she wasn't going to say more than that, but,
Right. Okay. Right. Yes, you did. So the name of your organization has a spiritual meaning. I actually met her sister. We both did documentaries with the A&E channel. She was in one, and I was in another. I was in One Blood. A&E. She was in, I think, Girls Gone Gangster. Yes. And a film crew from London or somewhere else called to do another interview. And I was at Vicki Lindsay's office at the time. And Sylvia said, okay, we'll meet at Ludus Park. So that's where I met her sister, at Ludus Park. And probably about 2 years later, she had passed away of a heart attack. So the name of your organization is actually named after your sister, Sylvia.
Right.
Is that correct?
All right. Sylvia Nine Angels, that is.
But it's an acronym because I know it stands for...
the Sylvia stands for Stop Youth Living Violence in America, and the None stands for Need Unity, Needing It Now, and the Angels is Against Negative Gang Environment, Living Straight.
So what are some of the things you do? I don't want to tell your story. I got you right here. So I know that we're talking about passing out toys December
December the
17th.
Yeah.
Right. So what are some of the things you do? Because I talked about that one day. I'm sitting here watching the person get mad, but you give out food every Saturday?
Every Saturday at 12 o'clock, we give out free food. Every Wednesday at 12:30, Bible study. We do backpack giveaways, Easter basket giveaways, anything pertaining to the youth. We try to cover it in our areas, and also try to help people that's homeless or hungry. People looking for jobs.
I want to stop you right now because I hear you not telling the truth. You keep saying you try. Did you hear Sister say she tried?
Yes.
No, this is what you do. You don't try nothing. This is what you do, and I know because I'm there. I remember one day, I can't remember what day it is, but there was a whole bunch of boxes, and we were passing out food, and it was a assembly line. Do you remember?
Right.
I don't know, but there were people coming, and we giving out food, and what was that day? Why were we outside with so much food?
Maybe was it hot that day? Because I do it outside sometime if it's hot, or maybe it was the toy giveaway. We were giving out toys.
Oh, yeah, it was toys that day, too. And I had to
giveaway.
break up some fights. I didn't get a ticket. Well, you got this. And they had the bikes, right? Everybody wanted a bike, right? So, yeah. And I remember being on the inside. Also, CeeLo Green was helping her.
Right.
Well, he wasn't. His girl was helping. He sat down for a long time. But his girl was helping, though. But you've had a number of people come through and help with the stuff that you do.
Right. I mean, Dr. Dre, for the most part, CeeLo Green did sit down and give out some food.
Well, at least he showed up. Okay,
yes,
so even if he sat down, just his presence.
Right.
Is
hey, we snuck up on her too.
Right.
We snuck up on her. She didn't even know he was coming.
Right. Didn't know who he was at first. I felt so bad. Yeah.
Right.
That's all right. He knew who you were,
Right.
and we came out because of that.
He
So
did.
that's really what matters. Because
Right.
I was. An article today, unfortunately, Channel 5 News had a story of a 10-year-old girl in Colorado, that committed suicide. Okay, from being bullied.
Right.
From being bullied. And it's so heartbreaking to see the challenges that our kids go through, and we don't have enough of you to go around to help them.
Right.
And so I want to acknowledge that because you represent for the fine community of Compton.
Right.
Okay? Right. And we can see the investments coming to Compton through the former residents. Right. They're coming back and making a change. And here you are already set up to give them a place to come, like CeeLo. Mm-hmm. You know, if CeeLo didn't know about her, where was he going?
Right.
You see, so these things are very important, and it's really important that we see ourselves doing this. That's the most important thing, to see that Kendrick is raising up the consciousness, that game is coming around, that the community members, the ones that were the Williams sisters, my God, they're just a classic standalone by themselves.
Yes, indeed.
That keeps Compton in the focus of the wheat that's out there. Right. The wheat, the gold, the diamond that's out there undetected.
Right.
You see, you're shining the right light on a city, a community that's been through so much.
Yes, indeed.
You know, and so we applaud that from those of you in Compton all the way through to those that are in the WAS community trying to do the same thing, all the way over here on this side where, you know, Ceasefire is trying to do things. You know,
Ceasefire not trying to do things. I keep telling you.
I'm sorry.
Ceasefire is doing things.
Yes.
Right. Cynthia not trying to do things. She's doing them.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right. But
so the thing is, when I say try, though, I'm taking away from all the hard work that people are doing.
Right.
And even you, sister, you say it a lot, and it's just not true. These are the things that you are doing. So I just want to empower each and every person that I get the chance to empower and say that I recognize, I see. And then you said something else, sister, when you talked about the trafficking, the human trafficking, sex trafficking, and all that. And I know for a fact, something we didn't talk about is that there are young ladies that I've met, and 2 or 3 of them have told me that they stayed with you, they lived with you. How many young ladies have actually lived with you when they couldn't go home or couldn't go anywhere else, and Cynthia took them in?
Yeah. Right.
No, I'm asking a question. How many?
No.
Like,
millions. I did it for so long. I decided to become a foster parent at one time. I did that for like about 7 years. But I raised so many young ladies. Parents may have been on drugs or whatever it was. You know, took them in and raised them. And sometimes you just never know the impact you have on their lives until they wind up telling you, you know, it's because of you that I didn't do this or I stopped doing that. You know, but it's been. I tell people if I was looking for a man, I wouldn't get one because everybody called me mama. So it's like 1,000 kids, you know, that I raised, and I thank God for being able to allow me to be able to do that. You know, also for stepping in my life and changing me. I always tell people that he had to leave some of us here so we can be a testimony for others. You know,
right.
Yes.
So he's been extremely, unexplainably awesome to me. You know,
You say changing your life, so now it's time to turn the cycle. Let's go back to 1975, 1976, 77. What was Cynthia Nunn like then? What was you doing?
As in your words, playing suicide with my life. I mean, out there. Gang banging, selling drugs. You know, I tell people I'm not ashamed of where I came from because it got me to where I am today. But if I could do it all over again and I know what I know now, I wouldn't. If I could do it all over again and not know, I would still do the same thing. But, I was out there fighting and just doing things just because, you know. I always say when we have Bible study with our pastor before he passed away, why did we do what we did? I guess we just felt like we wanted to prove to people we wasn't no punk, you know. I'm never a punk, but I'm humble, you know. It's so much better to not always try to, raise your hands to fight or hit somebody because of something, you know. I learned talking to people is a lot better. I'm a work in progress, but I mean, you know.
To be fair to you, you wasn't fighting by yourself.
Oh, no.
It's not like you was shadowboxing.
No.
Okay, and that, you know, that thing just hit all of us.
Right.
All of us. And we were all kind of on the edge,
Right.
waiting for whatever's coming next. And with no guarantees over any of it.
Right.
No guarantees that any of us were going to come out of it alive.
Right.
And the most devastating part of that process was a young man telling you, well, I don't think I'm going to see my 21st birthday. I don't think I'm going to see my 25th birthday. And they're prophesizing over there the length of their lifetime and saying with sincerity, you know, it's like, I'm not going to make it.
One of the things I'm thinking about, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I know that your life was rough, but I'm thinking about your daughter. I'm thinking about the relationship she had with this young man, and he was killed.
Right.
And she got into another relationship with this young man, and he was killed.
Right.
But the thing, I wasn't there, but I heard the story that after he got shot, they were taking him away in the ambulance, and he turned around and told everybody, tell Scootisha that I love her.
Right.
But they say he was like happy, joking, jolly type. You know, he was shot, and he like, hey, tell Scoo I love her, and then he didn't make it. That's the horrible part about this lifestyle, that lifestyle, the things that have happened. And, of course, it came from the generation from before, and it's like just trickled down to where we never know who it's going to be.
No.
Right.
Never know.
You know, let me just put this pin in that. You know, it makes every holiday difficult, extreme hardship for that family with that missing member.
Right.
Every holiday, Thanksgiving, Mother's Day especially, that birthday,
Right.
that's a lifetime of hurtful memory for each and every family. That's why we have been dedicated to try to find a different way for ourselves. Right. Dedicated. And bless their hearts, I cannot be mad at those that came out and tried to work in this arena and found out, you know, my heart just can't take it. My heart just can't take this. I'm going to go back to what I was doing before I found you, sister, because, look, you are right, but don't look for me.
Right.
You know, I tried it, and I can't do it. So it's been a lot of that. And to be fair to folks that have allowed it to burn them out, you know, the good side of that is that you're still here and standing.
Yeah. So what keeps you going? And you're not burnt out. Why do you continue to do? You had 1,000 kids, foster kids for 7 years.
Oh,
you give away food, even though there are some people who are very disrespectful.
Yes.
Very disrespectful. So what keeps you motivated and going and not burnt out?
I'll tell everybody, God. That's that strength that comes from Him. You know. I mean, it feels good being on the other side, giving back, seeing that you can give back. And then I also feel like a lot of the things that happened, it was because of my family, my homeboys. I'm not going to say just my family, but, you know, some members of my family, my homeboys. I always feel like we should come back and clean up what we messed up, you know. So that's what keeps me striving, too, because I know what Compton was like before all this.
What was Compton like before all this? Tell me about it.
Beautiful. I was in the Girl Scouts. We had skating. You know, we had activities. We at Ludus Park. We were skating. We had talent shows. We had carnivals. It was just a lot of kids interacting with each other. You know, we wouldn't have to be outside watching our back or worry about nobody playing in the park and somebody shooting at them or whatever. You know, it was different. It
was really a childhood.
Yeah, it was really for real childhood. I mean, we didn't have jumpers like they have today and all that stuff. We did more red light, green light. Simon Says, Mother May I. You know, dodgeball. We did a lot of interacting with each other as well.
Yes, indeed. One of them dudes from over there called himself Simon for a while. He took that game serious.
Seriously. Simon said that if Simon didn't say, you better not. Okay. I see where that's going. But, you know, you're right. Compton was a beautiful place to live when they did the housing development and expanded that. And we even came out looking for a home in Compton.
Yeah.
We did. It was beautiful. It was booming, growing, and black families were moving in and finding a nice homes and just a nice place to raise your kids until that drug dropped.
Yeah.
Well, I think it was a little bit before the drug. I think what happened was the Crips came.
Yeah.
I think the Crips came first.
And that's ruined Compton.
Yeah. The Crips came and the Bloods, the Pyrus was like, hey, we need help. So let me just do a little history. And this I know to be true. Okay. The history of the areas. And you say you guys went looking for a house in Compton. Mm-hmm. Actually, my mother in 1968 moved across the street from Enterprise. Okay. So we were at Campanella Park. Before the apartments were there, we were picking up frogs, putting them in a bathtub. My mama beat the stew out of us. You know, like, boy, I don't know what you're going to do with them. So we just had to put them outside after we got a whooping. But the one thing I know about Compton is I know that the Acacia Blocks have a Crip gang called the Acacia Block Crips. Mm-hmm. I know that the Elm Streets have a Piru gang called the Elm Streets, the Treetop, the Fruit Towns. These are trees. They are naming their communities after what is in their community. So they kept the history of their community based on the gang. Mm-hmm. Elm is a tree, an elm tree. The Treetop, Cedar Block, this is a tree. Fruit Town, there's really cherries, orange, all this stuff really existed back in the days. So they actually kept the history attached to the foolishness that was about to come.
Yes.
I mean, you know, so well, I don't.
My understanding originally, and correct me if I'm wrong, was that the Wasp community was being assaulted by Klan members in Southgate and
the Spook Hunters.
And in those neighboring communities. And because years ago, Compton was white.
Yes.
It was white.
Yes.
Okay, so if you got it next to, what was the community I just named?
Watts.
Southgate. You know there's some overflow. And my initial understanding for what brought about the baby cribs was to be the protection against the spook hunters. That was my understanding of their original intent. The original intent. It evolved into something else. but that was the original intent of the gathering.
That's not true.
That's not
yeah,
true.
no,
Okay.
Raymond Washington.
Well, Raymond Washington,
he could not be a part of the Baby Slossons. I mean, the Baby Avenues. He couldn't be a part of the Baby Avenues. He started his own thing, and it went haywire after that. And they went around trying to make everybody be Crips, and it didn't work in certain areas, like at Ludus Park is one.
This is what I'm trying to figure out. What would be the point of being a Crip? What was you going to do with it?
Well, it was just about the charisma, the charm at the time. So because
charm of what?
The charm of the fact that these guys, the Slossons, the Gladiators, they were guys who could fight, and they had that reputation. Yeah. So the Baby Avenues, actually from Hooper Avenue, they were the new guys. So these guys,
the new Slossons,
So they were tough. Yeah. They were big, and they didn't respect the 14-year-old Raymond Washington. You're not big enough. You're not tough enough. Okay. So he showed them by using his influence on all the 13-year-olds. And for the next 2-3 years, they got older and bigger and stronger. And eventually when they met up with Tookie, the West Side, so Raymond Washington started the Crips. Right. However, when it got with Tookie, he was like the brand. Yeah. He became like, okay, now there's 5,000 members.
Right.
So there are individuals who actually came to her neighborhood. Don't want to tell your story. Let me stop. But came to her neighborhood and got with her brothers and got with her family, got with the community over there, and the Pyrus started growing as well. But the reason I say that, I would like for you, I don't know if you mind telling who your oldest son's father is and what role did he play? I mean, I don't
his
know.
father is Puddin, supposed to be one of the originators of Paru, West Side Paru, when Paru first came over there. One of the ones that started Paru.
So the guys who started Paru, Puddin, Tam, Vince Owens, a few other. I'm going to say Baba Louie for the fact that he gives me most of the history. So even if he wrote himself in the story, he showed up and you told me how he was dancing at the park.
Right.
Yeah, say this big old giant dude was trying to pop lock at the park. And, but they were to fight what was coming. And what was coming, they knew was horrible. It was,
Well, that's the thing that I have the gray area, because I knew about Slossons and the businessmen, and I knew about that because they were from my generation too, and we knew they would fight with chains and knives, but nobody was going to get killed. I mean, it was really extraordinary if a life was taken in any of those encounters. We knew they were fighting. Most of the time they were fighting over cars and I don't know. But it wasn't a murderous kind of environment. And that's the thing that changed. After Raymond Washington and Tookie, murder became part of the lifestyle.
Right.
And that's the connection that I've lost. Was it because of Raymond and originating the Crips? Was the intent to fight to the death? I mean,
Raymond was a fighter. Raymond was a fighter. Okay. So I've never heard or known, I mean, I did not know him, but I've never heard of him shooting people.
Yeah.
I heard that he was a fighter, and when they went places, he could normally beat up everybody who he fought.
Yeah.
So
that used to be the test. Did you have the strength to survive this battle? And that was the joy of it. Yeah, I got a couple of black eyes and bruised ribs, but
we get to
met
go back
up
tomorrow.
Yeah, go have a beer together and laugh about my busted lip, and I dotted your eye. Right. That was the thing that was different in those years. So the evolution of the murder part was directed, actually began because of the drugs. That's the part I really want to be clear about.
Well, I think what happened with the drugs, and I wasn't in Compton when the drugs started. I was already in L.A., but the thing with the drugs is now there are weapons of mass destruction.
Yes.
Whereas back in my days, we would break in somebody's house and steal their 22 or their shotgun or their 25, and we would high five if we got a 9mm. But most of the guns were real small. They were 38 specials and stuff like that.
We weren't a community overrun with guns.
We did not have assault rifles.
No.
We just didn't have it. We didn't have any. So when the drugs came in, now the availability of getting guns from other states, and we don't even have to. They left the cars right there in Watts and on Slauson with
You're
different
talking about
guns.
the train track.
The train track. You know, that's what. But I want to go back because even when that happened, there was still that family structure. So think about it. So now the Crips, the Pyrus done started, the Bloods is everywhere.
Yeah.
But what happened is, what happens when you go home? How was the lifestyle with moms? How was the lifestyle in the house? Can I go in the house and be this big Billy Bad, or did I still have to be humble around mom and grandma? How was that in Compton? What about them beans, man? If your mama wants you to eat the beans, you gonna eat them beans?
Eat the beans or don't eat at all.
Don't eat at all.
Don't eat
Yeah,
at all.
that was a rule in my house too. There was a common theme back then that we just had a mutual respect for one another, that just a simple head nod of acknowledge, I see you, that now it's turned into, don't you say anything to my not here child. You know, your child is a demon, but I'm the only one that can tell him he's a demon. You know, if he kicks you, too bad kind of thing.
So where did it come from? What changed that? Because my mother, as soon as my mother got the phone call, she was mad. She knew I did something.
Yes.
And even if I told her I didn't do something, she'd tell me, stop lying.
Well,
they ain't going to just call me for nothing.
Okay, because look, I did talk to somebody that was very close to Tookie, and he took a detour that got him out of the lifestyle. But he does say that in the beginning that Tookie was dusted. He spent all his time being dusted, and that he doesn't even remember the homicides that he was charged with. He doesn't remember being there, and so there's a speculation that he got a bum rap or possibility. We just don't know. But the first thing that changed before the crack was the PCP.
Right.
PCP. So I'm trying to figure out, when did the shooting actually start? What was the trigger that turned us against each other? That it was okay to take a life that looked like you?
That's a good question.
Yeah, it is.
I mean,
when you think about it.
Right, you was right there.
Right, yeah.
They shot up your house a couple times?
More
I got bullet holes in my house, too.
No.
I know
they were shooting at your neighbor.
I know. Well, they were just shooting on the block trying to, kill my neighbor.
But they were shooting at her house. Yeah. Totally different situation when her kids are screaming like, Mama, get down. And she's so upset she's running to the door. So that was, you already had kids. But when was the first shooting in that area before you even had children? Or, did the Crips come over there? They
did come over there. I think in the 70s, like 72, 73, one of my older brothers, rest in peace, had a party. We have a back house. And and all we know is a bunch of them came, and they was like, it's the Crips, and everybody's fighting or whatever, And, of course, nobody wants to lose a fight. So, I mean, you don't know who have a gun because, of course, they're not going to show you. All you know is shots being fired, Then after that, everybody just start, getting together. It's like, protecting each other, your neighborhood, your homeboys and stuff. It was crazy back then, A lot of people say it was crazier back then than now, but it was crazy back then, but I don't think as crazy as it is now. We still had some type of unity, even though that's a lot of our people that look like us don't have unity, but we still had some type of unity. You mess with one, you mess with them all, you know. And the guys just felt like they wasn't going to let the Crips have the community. They wasn't going to let them have their neighborhood. So I guess whatever it took, I don't know where no shooting the stuff came in at, but that's what it was,
So what year was that, 72?
Yeah, like 72. Well, when the party was, it was like 72, 73. We were still having record hops and stuff at Ludus Park, and all we know is you better not say no to pudding. All we heard was this, pudding, and of course we see this big guy come in there and he's doing a robot on the stage, like a real robot, and we screaming like that must be, we looking like that must be pudding because he was so big and stuff, and
it was King Baba Louie.
Yeah, it was Baba Louie, and then afterwards we going to meet Puddin', but just start from there, everybody just started being who they was or being who they,
I don't think they were being who they were. I think
they
were
thought they
being who
was.
they,
Right.
they thought
Who
they
they thought
needed
they
to be.
was.
Right.
Or who they thought they
Yeah.
needed to be. Because that phenomena took over my block, too.
Right.
And I have to be honest, they were shooting on my block because my block was shooting at them. That's the way it worked.
Yeah.
They wasn't coming over to my neighborhood shooting for nothing.
Right.
It was a shoot back kind of thing that was going on, and it was happening everywhere. So I don't hold any one side any guiltier than the other. It's just a nightmare that took over our people, and our kids are now the trickle down from it,
Right.
from foster care to parents deceased. To born with drugs in your blood.
Right.
We've been through a lot of stuff over these years.
But growing up and hearing about my grandfather and what my grandfather did and this and that, I was a different child.
Yes.
But now these children grow up and hear about their grandfather, and their grandfather was Puddin', Tam, Raymond Washington,
Yes.
Tookie.
Yes.
That's the killer part, that your grandfather was a part of where we are now. My grandfather, the Townsend grandfather, was worked in the railroad car. So I mean that type of legacy is lost now.
Yeah.
When Rayshana Washington say, "Well, that was my daddy, Raymond Washington."
Right.
Or your son can say, "Well, Lamont could say that was my daddy." You know what I
my
mean?
dad,
so
yeah.
it's a totally different.
Yeah.
Well, what'd your dad do? It's a different thing, a career day now.
Yeah, it is, isn't it?
When
You
you're
don't
in the
want to
school.
answer some questions, and then other questions you have to defend that.
Right.
That's the hardship I see for Ray having to always defend her dad.
I asked her not to. I seen that on the internet once.
Yeah.
I seen some people saying some really horrible things.
Oh, they
and
come
I
after
had
her.
to call her on the phone and say, "Man, can you get offline?"
Yeah.
That's what we talked about earlier. Coming here, there are people who are trolls, people from Australia, North Dakota, somewhere, who sit and has absolutely nothing to do but instigate stuff and talk as if they are part of something or they're there, and then they get disrespectful. So I asked Ray, I asked Cynthia, whoever, man, get off of there, because even the person just called, was that your brother?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, there are people who are writing books and stories talking about what her brother did and this and that, and they absolutely lying.
Yeah.
And people on the internet saying that, it was the Nunn family that did this and started that foolishness and this right here. And how you gonna tell her when she was there?
She was there.
She's a nun.
Yeah, she's the witness.
So yeah,
you're the fabricator. She's a witness.
Right.
So I do see it being people opportunists. They think they're coming in to get something, some recognition for what they think they know, or whatever they think they're going to say that's going to put them out on Front Street and make them important. And it's really, you do not want to glorify your history in this murder game. You don't.
Listen, real quick, I've got to throw this quick commercial break in there and give a shout out to LA Superior Court, because they denied me and said that I was not a gang expert.
I'm so glad
when
you
I
remember
sit there,
that.
when I sit here and I talk with Cynthia, and I sit here and I talk with King Baba Louie, and I talk to Leo, who was original Rolling 60s, Melvin started the A-Tray Gangsters, him and Sidewinder. I sit here and think to myself, how am I not a gang expert?
Right.
And then not only that, I've been to jail, been to prison, I've been shot at, I done shot back. You know what I mean? How am I not a gang expert?
Right.
When I went into the McDonald's, one of my good friends, Trey, owns a body shop on 52nd in Vermont. Do you know that first time me and Trey met, he was with Huckabuck from 30s, I'm with my partners from 20s, and we had a fight at the McDonald's. We turned around and said, man, these dudes is in here. And they said, oh, look what we have, and started getting disrespectful. And they said, oh, we got some SLOBs, and, started. So we just turned around and started fighting, and it took us about 7-8 years to figure out, hey, man, was you in McDonald's with Huckabuck that day? He said, yeah, I was there. I said, man, I was with Sellis and them. He said, I was, I don't know. I had to be 20. I think, no, it was before I went to prison. So, yeah, I was about 18 or 19.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm like, man, that was us fighting. I said, I was the skinny one. He said, yeah, I was the short one. I said, I know, I could tell.
And
but
you were all the kids.
We were really kids, but we were fighting and want to hurt each other.
Yes.
And I mean, it's just for the Superior Court to tell me that because I have not studied through the FBI classes, because I don't have a master's degree in criminal justice, that I'm not a gang expert.
Wow.
And I'm like, okay.
I was telling my homeboy that today. We was talking about how you have a lot of white guys, some black guys, and they say gang experts. And I said, what make them a gang expert? Because if you ask them to drop and roll, they don't know what it is. They don't know how to do it. You can't be a gang expert unless you've been a gang member.
That's
you
right.
can't be a crack expert unless you smoked it. Experience is the best teacher, and it kills me because they give these people so much credit because you read.
And they give them a lot of money too.
They give them a lot of money, like L.A. Bridges. I mean, that was a big bankrolled program gonna come in and straighten up the black schools and make it better for black kids. And all they was doing was paying these little outsiders their check, letting them spend 6 hours a day over here and then run home to a nice, pristine, safe neighborhood.
Right.
And thumb their nose back this way. So we have been through that abuse and misuse. Now the kids, they don't want no part of that.
Right.
If you don't have any credibility, don't try to talk to me at all.
I could study an elephant for about 10 years, tell you how they eat, how they poop, what they do, all this, but
you won't be the expert.
I'm never going to be an elephant. Right. So I don't know how it feels when the lions and tigers is coming. Right. I don't know as an elephant. I don't know. They may be confident. They may be like, man, they better get away. I don't know. I know I'm scared, but I can't speak for the elephants. Say, man, the elephants are scared. Because I just don't know.
Well, that's a part of the hypocrisy that's hurt the community, because we really needed that direct investment that you're giving, that you give Skipp. Is those things that have really made the difference.
Right.
Why everybody, including LAPD, we're going to fix it. Give us the budget.
Right.
You got the budget. And
they got gang experts too. Yeah. No, seriously, they do. It's 4 years of working on the gang team, the gang enforcement detail, and 40 hours of training.
So that's gang expert?
They're gang experts.
That's still not gang expert to me.
Well, that's what I was just about to ask you. Is that a former gang member, or is that for LAPD officers?
That's for LAPD officers.
Then what the heck makes them experts? They're not experts. They're only law enforcement. That's all they are, with a little extra time. Look, I want to get off of this because
right. Hey, look, the last thing the panel judge asked me, he said, and when you reapply, please explain your criminal background.
Oh my God!
Because he said we saw your criminal background and your license was suspended before.
Oh my God!
Like, man, it was suspended in 2013.
Wow!
You want me to explain why in 2013? I mean, hey, I will. But if I have a criminal background and my license was suspended, I'm probably not going to make it as a gang expert.
Well, the sad reality about that is not enough people of color get on these juries anyway.
Right.
So you're a gang expert to speak to strangers that have no clue the expertise that you have, nor the respect of the truth that you'll be bringing them.
Right.
So it's kind of like it's already fixed.
Right.
The fix is already in. We don't want you as the expert because we want to incarcerate. Right. So we want a jury that will convict, expert or not.
The reason I brought this up is because of the relationship she had with that 1972 party with her brother fighting the Crips, with King Baba Louie trying to do the robot on stage, and the fact that she had a child by one of the founders of Pyru. In my opinion, I'm a gang expert because I listen and I know her.
Yes.
I know A.C. Moses, King Baba Louie. I know Leo. I listen. So I wasn't there in 1972.
Have access to the arena.
Got to have
LAPD does not have the access. They'll never have the access Skipp Townsend has.
I feel blessed too. I have access to her.
Yes.
She fought. She didn't want to get in the car today, but I have access, and I'm so glad because I know people that don't have access, and I just want to say thank you. I'm humbly grateful and all that you came here this evening.
I am too.
Yes,
see,
indeed.
because LAPD doesn't have access, the court doesn't have access. Those people that said you wasn't qualified, they'll never have access. And the truth is, it's in here. It's not over there. It's right here in the people that have lived through it.
This is the history of Compton sitting right here next to us.
Okay, and if she's not the expert, you're not the expert, who the heck are they putting up is?
A detective.
Oh, no. Nope.
Because he studied a long time.
No. Well, let me just say this. See, because look, we have tried since ceasefire to try to build up some dialogue with them, and I thought we was making a progress with Alicia Thomas, a lady killed in lockup, and they prosecuted her, the officer. And I asked the leadership at the time, was that lady officer the same one that Christopher Dorner complained about kicking the homeless guy in the head?
Right.
The
what was the answer?
Yeah. Oh, no.
Okay.
Well, see, because they protect each other.
Right.
Do you really think he was going to say, yeah?
Right. Well, here's
really
the thing, though. But she was in South Bureau. She was in South Bureau. No, I'm saying the one who kicked the lady, they, I believe, were in the Harbor Division, and this lady was in Southeast. However, if she would have did something. It's all under
South Bureau.
Right. But had she did something like that in Harbor Division, once Christopher Dorner went wild, they would have sent her to the Valley. They would have sent her. I don't think they would have sent her, let her stay in South Bureau. They would have got her up out of there for...
No, see, because there was a period after his firing that things were
right.
Yeah,
it was hunky dory, wasn't nothing wrong.
Nothing's wrong
until he decided he wanted to chase people.
Well, he got bitter. As the years went on, he got more bitter and looking at it and seeing Christopher didn't die. He didn't lie. He didn't lie. That officer kicked that homeless man.
Right.
Okay, but they made him the liar and fired him.
Right.
All right. Now, the problem I have, I was talking about Alicia Thomas. Then they killed Ezell Ford for little and no reason. And we had to go through all of that. And then this last summer, they killed four young men under 21 in 3 months. So this is why we keep fighting with them about communication. This is why we keep fighting with them about those body cameras. We just had this, and you ain't the expert, but they are.
Right.
Come on, that's the fix.
One of the things that happened just recently, little Autumn Johnson's killers were arrested recently.
Yes.
Has that
Autumn Johnson, a little 1-year-old.
Right. Has
child.
that and Cynthia, of course, grew up with the grandfather and know the kids as well. Did that help any kind of release in the tension in that community? Are things better now because they're arrested? Is it much peaceful, quiet, or does it not even matter?
I mean, well, it was it's kind of like peaceful. Everybody, I guess, just staying in their own lane. I don't know if that's what triggered it, but we haven't had really no murders to my knowledge anyway on my side of the town.
Right.
We haven't really had no murders. I think a lot of the older cats, the Pyrus and the Crips, they communicating a little more, and everybody trying to, pull together. But I'm hoping that it brought peace. I mean, I hate that had to happen, to that baby to even bring peace, But it's been kind of quiet though. Like I'm there every day. And I haven't heard anything going on or happening, other than parades and stuff.
Well, I've lost a lot of weight since I've known you because you've had me marching down Rosecrans from Central to Ludus Park. And then one day we left Ludus Park and we marched to the City Hall in Compton.
Right.
And the thing, Cynthia, and I'm going to tell you, I look at Cynthia as being laid back, like, whatever.
She's very calm.
She's very calm, very laid back. But on the days of the marches, she's always up front. She's always marching up front. And I really ain't know you had it in you, but she puts the energy and effort. And it's not like she just, like I know somebody else out of Compton. I think we all know this person. She get in her car and drive. Y'all know what I'm talking about.
Okay,
I ain't say her name.
I know.
I love you, Grandma. But,
yes, okay.
But she drives during the marches, but Cynthia walks, right?
Okay, because look, I'll be riding with our friend now. Look, I marched around the city till I can't march no more. And the last time I marched, the kids passed me and left me in the back by myself.
Right.
You know, I'm looking around, started in the front.
Right.
Okay. And those kids were so energized. They were marching. I was keeping up. And they started going by me. And I looked around. Like, you back here by yourself. Right. Okay. And it was so embarrassing.
So I said that to say I hope that we don't have any more marches in Compton. Yeah. I hope we don't need them.
Well, things are changing. That's the best news I want to leave with this show is that the homicides have gone down significantly. And next week I will bring in the chart I meant to bring tonight that talks about how high they were and what years and how they have been consistently dropping since, the community has stepped up.
Right.
Yeah. We want to be sure to let our listeners know that they are dropping. Things are changing.
That's a wonderful thing. Well, Cynthia, is there anything that you would like to leave the audience, something you want to say and let people know, some motivational, this Oscar-winning moment right here? Look in the camera and say it.
I just want everybody to get along, get along. I mean, life is short, and they used to say, here today, gone tomorrow, here today, gone the next 5 minutes. So life is short, I just want everybody to get along, and thank you guys for having me. Skipp is my brother, and whenever he call me, I do want to come. However, he knows I'm shy. He also know that I'm laid back homebody. I'm more of a Russell Simmons type. I can make it happen, but I like to be behind the scenes.
Yeah, she come out in trouble today. Let's leave him alone.
I don't believe it.
I ain't mad at Russell. Look, I just look, and I'm gonna leave it this: how we gonna go after them and leave 45 off the hook?
Right. Yeah, exactly. He said just grab him in the... Matter of fact, that's a rap song now.
Okay, all right. And look, he's got child things attached to him, too, like this man Moore that's trying to win this Senate seat. So, before we get to Russell, can we get to them, too? Right. Or
Yes, indeed.
Let's include them.
What I tell everybody is to keep your head to the sky.
Yes, we're out of time. God bless your community family. Thank you for listening. Thank you for coming, honey. And Gang Talk will be back next week.